Hi everyone, welcome to my presentation. My name is Cameron Fraser and this is my living room. Okay, great. So today I'm going to be talking to you all about Scottish culture. There are tons of things to know about Scottish culture, but just to kick it off, I'm just going to start with a few fun facts. So to start, the national animal of Scotland is a unicorn. And Scotland is also home to Europe's oldest tree, which is over 3,000 years old. So we're going to be covering a few more fun things like that, but also in the presentation, we will be talking about the history of Scotland, the religion, the cultural values, the language, the nonverbal communication styles, and the foods of Scotland. Okay, so let's start with where it all began with history. Okay, so the history of Scotland. Scotland started off with many wars with England. There was hundreds of years of just brutal wars with the neighbor country until 1707, when the two nations signed the Treaty of Union. This union basically combined the two countries into one nation, the United Kingdom. This gave Scotland a lot less government, which allowed them to explore other interests. And this is when, according to Lambert in 2019, this is when a bunch of new towns started to be built. Music, art, architecture flourished. Other things started up at the same time, new businesses such as coal, iron, shipbuilding. And according to Davies in 2010, this time period also introduced a bunch of new schools of thought, such as sociology, economics, and political science. The point that I'm trying to get at is, without the Treaty of Union, Scotland may never have been able to see such flourishment and economic prosperity. Religion. Okay, so the two main religions in Scotland are Christianity or no religion at all. A third of Christians belong to the Church of Scotland, according to Undiscovered Scotland, no date. The Church of Scotland dates back to 1560, after the Reformation. Being a Reformation church, the church prides itself on continuously growing to keep up with modern times. They also pride themselves on welcoming outsiders, regardless of religion, race, gender, or any other demographic. Basically, Scottish people just want to feel connected, and whether you are religious or non-religious, they're going to feel connected to you either way, according to Religions, Christianity, 2011. Cultural values. Okay, so according to United Kingdom 2020, Scotland is one of the most individualistic countries in the world. This is stressed very early on with children, who are often encouraged to think for themselves and problem solve. Scotland has a low uncertainty avoidance, which basically means that they're relatively comfortable in ambiguous situations. An example of this would be in the Scottish workplace, where they kind of encourage ambiguity because it helps them strive for innovation. Scotland has a low power distance, which basically means that they want to keep inequalities to a minimum. Another example of this would also be in the Scottish workplace. Saviki, no date, says that workers prefer collaboration and teamwork between employees and managers. All right. Scotland is considered a masculine country. This can be demonstrated in the annual Highland Games. While these games are most notably noted for expressing cultural pride in Scotland, the actual original intent of these games was to pick the most valuable soldier. So they're very brutish and manly and masculine. That is according to About Highland Games, no date. Okay, so Scotland falls right in between the middle of long-term orientation and short-term orientation. So it's pretty hard to tell which side they lean towards. However, I think this is a really great way to explain Scotland, because while they are still, technologically advanced and they're a modern society, they still have a lot of history that they love showing off. They take really great pride in their culture. They still like carry on valued traditions like playing bagpipes and wearing kilts. So I feel like they're a very happy medium. All right, and that is according to Scottish Traditions, no date. Language. All right, so there are 3 languages in Scotland. There is English, Gaelic, and Scots. Gaelic is the original language. This is Gaelic. Gaelic is the original language in Scotland. It's very ancient, and it's honestly a surprise that Scottish people are still speaking it today, because throughout history, many people have tried to abolish the Gaelic language. But the Scots persevered, and they still speak it to this day. It's widely spoken. It's even taught in some schools. So the next language I will be addressing is the language of Scots. According to Alba, no date, Scots is similar to English, but it's not a dialect of English, and this is an important distinction. It has a different history, different idioms, and unique sounds that are unrecognizable in the English language. This is what makes it its own language. Oh, here's a little example of something written in English and then it written in Scots, if you can see that. An example of Scots language is the word I, A-Y-E. It means yes in English. It sounds like English, but it's not. It's its own language. Okay. Having their own language has given Scottish people a really strong sense of pride in their culture. And Scots is even used in parliament and poetry and all sorts of things. Nonverbal communication. Okay, according to Samovar in 2017, Scottish people are pretty indirect. So when you're speaking to them, a lot of the times you're going to have to look for the underlying meaning as to what they're saying. They're very interested in saving face, and they don't normally complain. Eye contact is good, but do not stare. According to Gestures in 2014, a gesture that Scottish people will often use is this symbol, which means victory. It's like a peace sign, you know, in America. However, if you flip it this way, it actually is an offensive gesture similar to the middle finger in America. Sorry. Okay. Another way that they express nonverbal communication is through the way they dress. So kilts are a really great example of that. Kilts have a bunch of different meanings, and while they are a symbol of Scottish pride, they also have a bunch of different ways or different things that they're trying to communicate. Sometimes it could be patriotism or respect, and then like at certain points in history, they were signs of protest as well. That is according to Scottish Kilts 2020. Okay. Foods. So, the national dish of Scotland is haggis, and the national drink is whiskey. So let's start with haggis. According to Stinchicum, 1989, haggis is made from various parts of an animal, so the heart or the liver, or whatever, and then it's stuffed into a sheep's stomach. So it is a savory meat pudding, and according to Stinchicum, it is beloved by Scottish people, and it is found on tables from the richest of the rich to the poorest of the poor. Everybody eats it. And then whiskey. Whiskey was concocted in 1494, and it is the national drink of Scotland. It has a very specific distillation process in Scotland to be considered Scotch whiskey. There are actual laws about it, so it's very precious to them. Whiskey in Gaelic is translated to water of life, and actually Scottish people used to give whiskey to their babies to help cure diseases, and they obviously, you know, would continue to drink it into their old age. So the symbolism there is basically that whiskey is going to be with you from the moment you're born to the moment you die. Okay, and that is according to Snodgrass 2017. Okay, to sum up, In this speech, I talked to you about some facts about Scotland. I talked about the history of the country, the religions, the cultural values, the language, the nonverbal communication styles, and the foods. Just to give you a few more fun tips before I head out of here, Scotland was actually home to the first ever raincoat. They have the largest population of redheads in the world, and their tallest waterfall is 3 times the size of Niagara Falls. So clearly, by now, you should realize that there's more to Scotland than meets the eye.